Hello guys, so welcome again back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be going through the documentation of this system, Victor School for Membership System. So we are going to be going through all the 7 chapters, as you can see over here, all the way up to the last chapter, is chapter 7. So sit back, relax and enjoy the show. So beginning the first part that includes inputting of your details, all of them, your school code, your index number, your title of the project, your school, and where submitted to. Then you have to tackle the second part that involves the documentation of the declaration. So this is where you declare that the work was done by you, or it's basically a part where you declare the work is yours. Then you have the supervisor's declaration that will certify that your supervisor, that should be your teacher, was there to supervise you during the tackling of the project. Then you have a dedication, and this is a part where you can dedicate this project maybe to anyone, maybe the school, maybe the or school that engage in clubs and etc. You can decide to dedicate it to them. You can decide to dedicate the project to them. Then you have the acknowledgement. This is where you mention everyone you would like to thank for the success of the project. Maybe your teacher, maybe your parents, maybe your school principal, or your other friends as well, whom you did together with. Then here you have your table of contents that should outline all the 7 chapters. As you can see, mine from chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So again, you should be able to highlight all of them. Then beginning with this chapter 1, this is where basically you introduce us. You tell us membership, Victor School, what is that, and maybe you can introduce us and tell us what they are planning to do or what they normally do in their activities. Now you can mention that they have clubs, where each club there is a teacher who has some responsibilities, like these ones listed over here. So you can briefly introduce us to the school, or tell us how does it work. So that's what we are mainly up to. Then we can go to system analysis. That's where you start defining the problem. In this case, you can tell us that you observed the automation process, or you observed how they operate, and you can mention some of the points that maybe data is coded about the students, the storage and managing of school and clubs. There's also storage and managing of student membership. In this case, also their roles have to be stored as well. We also have storing and managing clubs, activities and events. We also have tracking of members who join or leave a club at the beginning of every year. So in this case, this is what you observed while you went there in that school. So it could mean that you physically visited the school to maybe check on how they function or how they work. And then you have management of club finances that are generated from club activities, and this would include registration fees and other expenses maybe incurred during club activities. Then you have computing of the school's financial contributions to the club's activities. So you might have observed that. Then you have computing of the savings for each and every club, and there is generating of reports. So these basically are the points are what you did observe while in the school. Then the overview of the existing system. This is where you give a brief look of how is the old system, or how is the system that they are currently using, how does it look like. So you can therefore need to go to the existing system structure. In this case, you can give a summary of how the school does their functions. Maybe for the member registration, maybe you can mention that when members are required to apply, the school has to record their data, and also you can specify the mode that they actually do that. Okay, if it's manually on a paper, then maybe filing it, you can as well mention that. Then membership in a club as well, you can mention. If they do record in manual books and files, you can also mention them over there. And you can also mention that it is usually difficult to maintain the records, because if they are using files or a physical mode means to store data and records, it will be very much tedious when it comes to retrieving that data. So again, you have to mention that as well, and some other disadvantages that you might have faced over there, but you can just mention a limitation or two for each and every point. Then you have membership again in clubs. So again, if it's done, giving this one I've mentioned, then we can go to activity recording. You can tell us how do they record their activities, maybe through books, through files, or through a computer system, but say it's old or something like that. Also tell us how do they make their decisions about which activity to go, who and who should be involved, which club should be involved, and etc. Then you can mention as well that there is a manual nature of keeping records, and maybe a challenge that was faced was that the books often went missing and were misplaced. So if a book gets misplaced, it could lead danger, because that data will not be retrieved, or it will be missing, and the activity won't be referenced well, because the source is already gone. Then you can have record keeping. You can try to explain to us how the school or the clubs, how do they store their those students that have registered, those that are going for clubs, those that are maybe engaging in activities, the clubs that are engaging in activities, and the collections and everything. So you can give a conclusion that maybe this manual system was not efficient, or was inefficient, because of all these challenges that they were actually facing. So after you are done with giving us the existing system structure, you can give us, or you can go to the overview of the proposed system. In this case, you can this is where now you start explaining to us. You have a vision to develop a computerized system for this particular school, for their, maybe to improve on their operations, or to solve these problems that you might have listed here, like maybe storing records manually on paper, and etc. So if you are creating a computerized system, you must give us a brief overview of maybe what is expected of it, or would be its function. In this case, you can mention maybe collection and storage of information about school members, their clubs, societies, to also store some membership data and some transactions in this case. Now you can mention that the system will be designed to efficiently handle processes such as tracking of income, fees, that is those who register, as registration fees, activity engagements, and fees that are collected, and etc. You can also mention that it will be expected to generate a report. Now this, because this is an example from a management information system, and one of a function of a management information system is generate generate accurate and up-to-date records. So that is a function that must be present in your database management or in your information system, because this particular example, this particular question at hand is an example for database management system that falls under information systems or management information systems. So you still have to mention that. Then you can as well tell us that it will be very much user friendly, it will be easier for the clients to use, and etc. After that, you can go to the objectives of the purpose system. This will be what is being expected by, or what are your objectives when you propose this system to us. Yeah. So you can briefly mention that your proposed system has some objectives, maybe improving accuracy, providing real-time information by generating reports, maybe to enable generation of accurate and up-to-date information about maybe some various transactions and etc. Maybe to offer a user-friendly interface that enables patrons and members to access and manage club operations. So you can quickly mention all of those benefits, or not benefits but objectives. So there are differences between objectives and benefits. So the benefits now typically means that if you start using your system, how will it be of help to the consumers of the Victory School Club? How will it be of help to them? Maybe you can mention that it will to improve the accuracy, enhance speed in generating reports, because maybe if previously they were doing so manually on books, if you bring in a concept of computerized system, it will be very much fast in generating such reports. Then simplification of processes of computing the finances, and reducing also errors that can be made if a normal human was carrying out that task. So you can also say mention some various benefits, maybe better decision making and etc. Then there is the scope of the system. Again, these are the major functions that your system will do. Maybe member registration and management, club registration, fee collection. Maybe for those who register, can decide to collect their fees. You know, we remember very well that each and every club has its fee of joining, or the membership fee. So you have again to record that as well. And then you have record keeping again. Again, you can mention that it will maintain the records of the various transactions that are being carried out, maybe the financing, the activity, money fees collection, and maybe the membership registrations and etc. Then after you are through with that, you can go ahead and carry some cost and benefits analysis, or in other words, you can call that as a feasibility study. So in a feasibility study, you want to try and find out your economical standards, or the money that you have, or will it enable your system to be accepted in the community, or how well you've set up, how well you've set up yourself. In this case, you might consider some feasibility studies, such as economic feasibility, the technical feasibility, operational, and there is also usually a schedule feasibility. In this case, I can start with that. So schedule feasibility is a type of feasibility study in which you, as the team that is developing the system, the information system, what are your resolutions to maybe have to develop the system, or have the system complete in about the 7 months that you are given in this case. So if you are to finish the system in 7 months, what will be your resolutions as the the software engineers or the system engineers. So you might decide to be meeting more often, maybe taking an example, meeting more often, dividing work maybe, or maybe adding more people so that you could be, or you can be able to make the system complete in 7 months. So this is quickly what we mean by shared feasibility. Is just some resolutions, or how you decided, or how you will complete the project in the given time. So that is what it means. Then you can go to technical feasibility. So this one involves examining your current hardware and software, and maybe evaluating and seeing that it is quite fit to start the development of this project. So you can maybe decide to, if your computers have some old or worn out hardware, you may decide to maybe replace. So that one you'll do after you've carried out a technical feasibility. So also the software, if you have outdated software or you have unlicensed, you may decide to maybe license it or maybe replace it if it is needed. So that is just briefly technical feasibility. Then you have the economical feasibility. This typically deals with your funds. In this case, will it be accepted in the society if maybe we have some value for this and that? Will it be accepted in the society if maybe you are to complete that project? So basically that's what it entails. Then you have operational feasibility. This one deals with is a type of feasibility study that deals with the examining of those that are going to operate the system. Maybe you can mention, would they require some training? They require to attend regular training, and or maybe what is the cost for that? Will they require special or a skilled personnel to automate or use the system? So that's the main thing that you could mention. Then after you are done with the first chapter, that is chapter 1, you can first of all declare that according to your feasibility study, you got some benefits, or the cost benefits was much higher than the benefits was much higher than the maybe the value that you had intended. So it can be, this project can be declared as technically, operationally, and maybe economically feasible. So it means that development can commence after you start or you finish your feasibility study. Then you have to go to the second chapter that involves information gathering. This is briefly the method that's used to collect the data, maybe for you to know that Victoria School Club has clubs and societies. Maybe you might go and visit them. You might carry out some interviews, you might administer some questionnaires, you might go there physically and observe. It depends on the method that you'd like to use. So here you have to mention at least 2 of them, maybe interviews and observations, maybe questionnaires. In this case, if you mention questionnaires, you must tell us what is that. Maybe it is a document that is filled with some pre-filled questions and some choices where a user needs to select at least one of those answers that you've given there. Then you have to mention their advantages and disadvantages as well. For instance, a disadvantage is that the user is limited to those choices that you gave there. So if the user has another opinion, he or she cannot give the full information, which will affect the development process of the system. So you have to mention all of those. If you use interviews, give us a sample of the interview, the questions that you did ask, and etc. Then the surveys, if you used surveys, also if you did observe. But for observation, don't need to prepare anything, because here you just tell us what you saw. but for the interviews and questionnaires, you have to again inform us what questions did you ask. Inform, maybe you can decide to draw a diagram here and show it. So maybe you can say that in conclusion, the data that was collected maybe through various methods, it will be verified, cleaned, and organized into a DB system for maybe further processing and maybe aid in the system design phase and the system coding phase. So after you've done that, you can summarize the fact-finding methods that you used. You can maybe give some limitations that you saw, and maybe there was an unorganized system, that was the old one, and maybe etc. Then after you collect your data, you can go ahead and specify your system requirements. So in this case, you consider these two parts. There is a hardware and a software requirements. So you can consider some other things such as functional and non-functional requirements, but these both are what we do consider most. Now, hardware requirements means the minimum specs or specification of the machine that you did use, so that they can check also on their side that their devices meet the same requirements, so such that if it doesn't meet those requirements, we will need to be purchased or upgrade if needed, and etc. So with me here, like for instance, I can say I used a processor that is the Intel Core i3. There's a 7th generation, and I also used an 8 GB of RAM as my memory, and I used a hard disk of 1 TB. But this is hard disk, you don't have to specify all this size, but you just use yours, because the system cannot occupy even more than 1 GB, but you can just mention it. Maybe they would be needing other files in the future, and etc. And also you need a method of communication between the user and the machine, in this case a computer. So you will need a keyboard and a mouse, and specify used a USB type. You can also add others as well if you'd like to. Maybe you can add some printers. Yeah, you can also add some storage devices that you did use. Also you can decide to specify as the make of the machine that you use. For instance, if you used Dell, you should give us that make of that system. If you used Lenovo or HP or whatever device that you used, you can give us a specification of that. Then you can go to the software requirements. In this case, still is the software that you did use while you are developing your system. For instance, if you used a Windows 10 operating system, or later on is recommended, because if you have 11, then generally it is an improvement of this 10, so the system will run with minimum or no errors. So you can mention the operating system that you used, and also say the database management system. In this case, Microsoft Access SQL Server. In this case, this one is pre-installed in Microsoft Access, so I don't have if on their devices, you will just make sure that Microsoft Office is indeed installed in their devices, such that they may be able to use your system. Then the programming language, in this case, it means that database management system must support or must be able to read or execute software written in that language. So in this case, because Microsoft Access uses the VBA or the Visual Basic Applications, is normally referred to as the Visual Basic 4 applications. So in short, it is VBA. So I can also mention the language that you used. Then I don't have necessary to mention about the function and the non-functional requirements, but briefly, functional means what will be the building blocks of processing of the system. In this case, if it's maintaining records, maintaining data of clubs and etc., calculation of expenditures and earnings and etc. Then for the non-functional requirements, I mentioned about security, performance, user friendliness, and scalability. Maybe scalability can quickly mention if the system, or if in the future there are advancements in technology, or maybe some other things, how easily will your software be upgraded, or how easily will it adapt to these changes. So that's what we mean by scalability in this case. We can move on to the next thing, that is the system design. There is a flowchart over there. So for the flowchart, you just have to consider what is the flow, or what is the general flow of maybe the system. How, if you start registration of the students, how will it flow? Or if you start the system, how will it flow? Yeah. So if you start, and maybe you might require to fetch some membership details for the students, and see if maybe the student is registered or not, such that if he is not registered, you may decide to register them, and maybe to offer them the services, or maybe let them engage in the club's activities and etc. Then the fees that are collected, how are they being stored? Maybe you can use some symbols to, and in this case you'll be using symbols to indicate that flow. And you know very well that you start with an ellipse, or maybe this shape over here, not an alternate process, but it resembles an ellipse. So if you can decide maybe to start your program, then indicate using your arrows. So if you start with your ellipse over here, you indicate using an arrow. In this case, for instance, I can open my my editor over here, and we see what we are actually saying. So you can maybe decide to come up with such shapes. Maybe use a process, maybe to, maybe not a process, but an input, maybe to alert the user to enter the student details in this case. Then you can decide to a process to maybe validate the student details. Then if the student is not registered, you may decide to branch and maybe carry out a process of registration, and maybe take the loop back again to where it started, such that the details are entered again, they are validated. And in this case here, you use a decision to if the student is registered, and if this is no, it will go to the registration part and start over again. If this is a yes, you might decide now to maybe the process of fetching club details, maybe that process over there. And forgive my drawing because I'm just showing you how you should tackle this part about flow charting. So this is where you started, come and input your data, validate if the student is registered. If not, route out to the registration part. If yes, load clubs and maybe carry out the other services. So basically that's how you should tackle that flowchart. Just have to mark the flow of the program, and be sure very much to use the correct symbols in your drawing. Don't mess yourself up, because it will actually cost if you use wrong symbols. Then there's the second part, is a grouping of variables. In this case, this means a grouping of variables means collecting all information that might be used to identify one thing. For instance, a student has different things that can identify him. Maybe a name, maybe an admission number, a class, an ID, and the day that the student joined the school. So all those different entities or different fields, not entities but different fields, we can group them to one entity called the students group. So each and every field will represent each student. Then for the clubs, again, the club ID, the name, the fees, then the patron, and that patron joined. Again, you can identify these as one club, so we can group these into club. Again, activities, the same. You have to record the activity ID, the club ID, the activity name, amount, date, and the status. Then you can also acknowledge that as one activity, and or one entity called activities. Then club finances, collect all the data that relates to the clubs, then store it over here as a club finance. So each and every finance will have a finance ID, the club ID, the total revenue, the annual parties in this case, and etc. Then we have the membership, also all the data that is related to a single member. About membership, you can group it and place it in one entity. Then you have your input design, your table design. In this case, so I mentioned how you did design your tables. You be sure to draw these using Microsoft Word. Don't insert some screenshots here. You draw using Microsoft Word. You just come to the insert tab under tables, choose your table. Then you can highlight the length of the table that you want. But in this case, we need a table with only 2 columns. In this case, a field name and the data type, but the rows will be depend on the number of fields that you have with your table design. So be sure to divide your table into 2 columns, the field name and the data type. Then you can insert your field names over here in one column, and their corresponding data types on the other column. So you briefly do that with all your tables, maybe the patrons table, the membership tables, the finances table. That will store a record of the finances, the activities, and etc. Then you can go ahead to your form design. In this case, the actual design of your forms. So again, because you basically need a method of interaction between you or the user and the computer. So in this case, you will need some forms that will be used to maybe for input by the user who is using the system. So you also have to design your forms. Again, you don't insert any screenshots. As you can see here, these are shapes that are inserted here. So if you can go to the format tab, you can find these shapes here. Then you can insert the desired shape that you'd like, and etc. So you design all your forms again the same way. Then after you are done, make sure you design at least 5 forms. You can also design your reports as well. Maybe you can have a title, you can have a address and an email maybe, and some information. Then you can have your fields again, and the data that will be displaying as in form of a report. So again, you design your report similarly. Again, you still aren't allowed to use screenshots in this chapter, so please be very keen not to insert any screenshots in this chapter. Then you can go to the general system security. So again, this is where you mention something about the security of the system, maybe the backupping, the restoration. You also have user authentication and etc. How the users be authenticated when they want to use the system. Then you can after that you are done, you can go to your 5th chapter, which involves a system construction. In this case, this is where now you start constructing the system in Microsoft Access. Now this is basically where milestone 2 will start, because you are now constructing the system. Then you can start with the database relationships. You know very well about relationships. So if I can zoom in on my relationships, as you can see here, all my data is linked appropriately. So again, be also very much sure to mention about or to do about with referential integrity. Referential integrity means that for a value to be saved in another table, maybe that value represents a primary value in another table. For instance, if you are going to register for membership, the student ID that you enter must match the one that was you registered within the students table. So you can enforce referential integrity between those two. Also, when you are being financed, the club ID must exist in the clubs table again. Also, when a patron is being added, it must be registered in the patrons table. That is what I mean. So referential integrity, as I have said, I hope you know how to insert it. You just have to maybe drag a field to the secondary table. Then when this dialog box pops up, you can check the referential integrity. And in this case, referential integrity, please make sure the two fields that you are trying to link, they have the same data type, because if it doesn't have, it won't work. So make sure they have the same data type. Then after you enforce your referential integrity, you can go to database tools, or not tools or tables. Is again where you design all your tables, maybe beginning with the registration, your membership, and maybe the other tables that you did use. So you will add them up to there. Then you can go to your queries again. This one, now you are allowed to insert screenshots of the work that you've been doing. So you can insert all of them as required. So if you did, and also some other parts that maybe you did design in SQL view, in Microsoft Access SQL view, you can as well insert the same screenshots. And then you can have a user manual that explains how the users or how the others should handle the system. Or it can be used as a tutorial, maybe to show people how to use the system that you've written. And you can start by demonstrating how to install, start and run the system. Maybe give us some screenshots of if you start the system, how does it appear on the screen, so such that if the errors is appearing otherwise, we'll know what to do, or maybe troubleshoot, or maybe restart again if it's the wrong system, and etc. And you can decide to display a home screen, maybe after the splash screen, the startup screen completes. This is the screen that is going to be displayed. Then you can briefly tell us the process of registration of members, the financing, maybe, and the membership tracking. In this case, just insert your screenshots, maybe membership tracking, the activity recording, and etc. Then again, the generating of reports. tell us how your system is generating reports. Again, you can be sure to insert your screenshots, maybe the membership report, the financing report, the member tracking report, and the club savings report. So again, you can also offer them some troubleshooting guides, maybe some common things or common issues they might face while running the system. For instance, there is the data type validation and some exact other things. Maybe inserting short string values in a field that had a number data type. So you can tell them to what to do by making sure everything they input is numbers and etc. Then you go to the second part. So the sixth chapter deals with the actual implementation of the system. So there are various things you have to consider, like staff training and the changeover strategies. So this one is the basic thing, or the major things that you consider. The staff training involves those that are going to use your system. They will obviously need some training so that maybe know how to maybe use the system. Then you can mention that very briefly. If they all of them need to be trained or just one of them, you can mention that, and also the duration of that training and also the cost. Then you can go over to the changeover strategy. This in this case means if you are shifting to the old system to the new system, how will we do that? Because we cannot just wake up and say we shift, because you still have to have a plan. So you can decide to maybe give us the changeover strategy that you did use. If it's a parallel one, if it's straight, yeah, you remember those changeover strategies that we did have. And we also have phased. So if you decide to use parallel, in this case is where you used both systems until you are confident that the new system is fit for use. So you use both systems in parallel. Maybe you might decide some operations will be used by the new system, some operations will be used by the old system. Then until now you are satisfied that the new system is fit, you can now decide to discontinue the old system and now continue using the new system. So that is a parallel changeover. You might need to mention that. Then I might also need to mention some other changeover strategies, like straight. Straight now is where if the developers release the system and they bring it to the school, they will discontinue the old system immediately, then start using the new system immediately. So that is straight changeover. Then you have the phased. For the first changeover strategy is where you implement your system in phases, just like we have with our current education system. We have those ones that are in the 844 still, and you have the competence-based students. So that is an example for phased, because as the old model phase goes out or the students exit, we are continuing to embark on the CBC one, because the new ones that will replace the old ones will come to the competence based. So that is what we call a phase. So basing an example using the system, you might decide to maybe start with the registration part. You do away with the manual way and start with the the other method that comes in as using the system now for registration. Then you go the next thing, if it's club membership, do away with the old one, start using the computerized one. So you will implement your system in phases until it is complete. So that's what it actually means. So we might mention the data migration and etc. Then you have the testing, the evaluation and support. Evaluation, in this case you have to evaluate is it meeting the intended requirements, its performance, how is it functioning. If it needs to be improved, you can mention that as well. If it needs some upgradings, maybe some further development, you can mention that as well. So that is the 6th chapter. Then we have the last chapter, that is system review and maintenance. So this one there is no much to mention. I just have to mention we intend maybe to keep reviewing the system after maybe each and every 6 months or a year or maybe 2 years. It depends on your choice, because you might need to evaluate how is it functioning and maybe decide to improve it if need be. So you might as well mention that as well. And the last thing you can mention is the challenges that you did face during the development, maybe the costs. If it was too high, there was technical issues, maybe a few of you, maybe the training wasn't adequate and you still have difficulties in developing, maybe there was frequent blackouts. Such things are what you can mention. Just any challenge that you can encounter while writing your project, even if it skills can give us the strength of the automated system. So as one can mean it's like the benefits again you are still repeating, but in this case you can mention now that they are using that system, what strengths are they having, if it's better resource management, accessibility and etc. Then you can have some recommendations maybe for further improvements in the future. You can conclude that for the system you are very much honored to be a part of it, and you are very much happy that it could help a school club in its operation, and maybe you could recommend that the same system be adopted by some other schools. Then you can give your bibliography. In this case means the resources that you used to gather some information about the SDLC, or the books that you used. You can quote them here. Then you can have your appendix as last. If you used any form of short form in your project, you can come to us here and tell us the meaning of that short form, and together with the page that you did quote that. In this case, like for me, Kenya shillings, the terabyte, the SQL, which means the structured query language, and gigabyte. So basically that was the documentation part of this project. So again, we hope you did enjoy. You can still contact us if you require a copy through the number in the description below. So you can continue to the other part, that is the database. I'm going to briefly start the system. Is the splash screen and it looks like. So we can go into it. So after the system loads up, this is how it looks like. So is on my left hand side there is a navigation bar. I can easily navigate through my various phones so as to maybe easily use my system. So we are going to be going through every one of them, and maybe seeing what was expected in this system, and the major maybe things you might be doing. So we are going through this part. So let's quickly get started. So in me, here is my dashboard that quickly displays the statistics that are currently going the system. Like for instance, there are a total of 12 members, a total of 11 clubs, and the current allocation for the ongoing activities sums up to 50,000. That is my current one. Then the annual party sums up to 30,000, and the total revenue sums up to 100,350 Kenya shillings. Then there is a graph here that will display the trend, or maybe how members are actually joining. So it will display for the each and every year. There is, as you can see here, there is a legend that explains, or that tries to show this color represents January, this one represents February, as you can see. But as we'll keep on adding more, we'll be seeing. And also we have a finance chart.
So these ones also can be used to show a summary of the financing that is going on, maybe by the clubs. In this one you can know there are two finances, but the portion is largely with this one. This is because it means that for the first financing, the bigger portion of this value, this portion, the blue portion here, has way too much money than the other ones. So that's why the difference is there. But we'll still keep on seeing how. So if you can start with the first bit here, is the adding activities. Here you can generally record any activities. Like for instance, you can see on my right hand side there were 3 major activities that were going on. So if you would wish to add a more activity, maybe let's add another one. Then you just provide an activity ID to represent that information for that activity. Then maybe you choose, then the next thing you have to choose is your club. Yeah, you are in a debating club, drama club, music club. Let's say for instance, say you are in music. So you have to specify the name of the activity. Maybe it was a music festival, then you provide the date that it was recorded, maybe today, that is on 28th. Then the amount that was collected from this activity, let's say it was a little bit of 10,000. Then I can save that activity. As you can see, my activity was successfully added. So as you can see here, the changes reflect immediately. Activity 5, that was music club, went for event music festivals. It was recorded on this date and this amount was corrected. So all the other activities as well, if you add any activities, you will absolutely get those ones here. Now be sure very much to note down the data that was recorded, because when it comes to financing of the clubs, you are told very well that the clubs need financing, and there was some percentage that was being allocated to each and every club based on the activities that they are doing, maybe to support on the ongoing activities, maybe for as well. We can also say there were also some club savings as well. That was 20% of the allocations. Yeah, there was also some annual parties and maybe some other allocations as well. So you have to note down the date that was recorded. It is very much crucial when it comes to funding these clubs, because it will have to check for the last date that was recorded, so as not to double fund a club 2 times. Yeah, maybe that activity was already passed, but maybe it gets funded again, or the club gets funded again for maybe those activities. But or we have to check for the last time that we funded, so that maybe we know how to fund it very appropriately. So we'll still get back to it. We'll get back into that when we come to funding. Then on my button here I have a view report. I can actually view those data that I've added. Like for instance, you can see here, this is the activity we just added over here. So this is just a report. It shows how briefly it was added. Then this is the financing of the clubs. You can allocate funds over here, but we'll come back to that. As you can see, my values still are the same as they were reading in my dashboard. If you can recall very well, 100,000, 150, 30,000, 105, those are still the same figures that are there. So we've still made sure our system is up to date and accurate in recording those activities. Going to the next button, we have student registration. Now this panel or in this page, this is where we carry out the registration of all students. Maybe if a student has come and joined the school, and be very much careful. This is we have student and we have membership, so we must be able to differentiate the both. So this is basically used to store maybe the student that has joined the school, and maybe here we have also viewing of unregistered students. You can print that if you like. We are going to add a brief a record very fast, so that we see what actually is happening. So let me quickly add it. I've added my data like that, so I can now go on and save it and get that the data was successfully added. So if I come and view the unregistered students, as you can see here, the data that we've just added, it's already gone, but as you can see here, the data that is we've just added has been reflected as unregistered. So if a student immediately joins, he or she will need to be registered. So after that, maybe you can decide to maybe register that person by just coming through over here to the membership registration. Now then below here we have a report. It's just basically shows those students that have been registered in the system. So as you can scroll there, you can be able to see that. And I'm telling you now we can go to the membership registration. This is where now you officially register a student for maybe for a club or maybe something like that. For now, for instance, if I can view my last membership ID is MBR009, so I can quickly add the next ID. Then after specifying my next ID, I can actually now come and choose my the student that I've just added. There is Victory BD. Then I can choose the club I want to register him. Let's say it's drama club. Then as you can see, there is auto-filling here of the fees and whatever. We can also specify the role of the student, maybe a regular member. Then we can just specify the date that the member joined will be just today. So after specifying that, you can save. So as we have seen here, these values are automatically auto-filling themselves. If you change a club, they will, you don't need again to specify the name and the fees. It will automatically do that for you. So since this one was in a drama club, we'll just save them there. Then we can save. And I told the registration was successful. So if I view the membership report, I can be able to see that the ID that I've just added, this one MB10, is successfully registered. So if you come to again student registration and view unregistered members, now we see that the student is no longer here because he has been registered. So that's how it goes. That's the membership. So if you'd like to maybe clear a student from the current role, or maybe shift the student to another club, you can as well use these, but we'll still come to that. So we are done with this part. So if you'd like to delete the record, you just use the delete record. If you want to print it, you can actually print that using this button here. So you can print as well with that. Then the other bit, we have addition of clubs. So here you can carry out the registration of clubs. That is adding the club ID, the club name, the fee, the registration fee, and also appointing the necessary patron. So because I've added all of them, you can specify the details, beginning with the club ID, the club name, the fees. Just like I've said, you choose your patron again. So again, if you choose, it will autofill that for you. So be very much what you just add the data. Now as for me, I've added all the clubs, so I don't need to do any more additional work over here. Then after maybe you save, you can maybe view club finances. Now in this case, it means that it will display a list of it will display a report of the current funding to the clubs. As you can see here, my art club has been allocated, or it has 100 shillings. It has been allocated 30 shillings, 20 shillings as savings. It's because of the total revenue. We still consider the percentaging and whatever. So the annual parties was 30% of these. So again, 20% was from these. That was the savings. The school contribution is 70% of the annual parties allocation. So 70% of 30 shillings should amount to this. Then for the ongoing activities, it was 50% of the total revenue. So 50% of 100 should be 50. Then the cycle continues like that. So it will do that for each and every club according to the last date that was the funds were allocated. So that's why I was telling you to be very much keen when recording those dates, because it will affect how the clubs receive funds. Be very much keen in recording those dates, because they will affect how the clubs are funded in the future. So be very much keen on that. So if you can save the data if you prefer to, or if there are missing clubs that are there. Then the other bit is the patrons. This is where you can add some patrons, maybe to appoint for the or maybe some patrons to appoint to the clubs. This basically means they are the teachers that are in that school, that work in that school. So that because we are told each and every club has a patron who is a teacher, so you can quickly add them over here. So like for instance, I can just copy my last ID. So you can quickly specify a name. Then you can save the data. Then maybe you can decide to view the patrons report. So this is how it looks like, the details of all patrons that are registered. So they will appear here as you've seen. The one that we've just added, it's here. So the next bit is about financing of clubs. Now in this part is where we actually deal with the financing of the school clubs. Remember, if you can go back to your question again, you are told there was some percentages that were being allocated to each and every club. Now you have to know that first of all, financing does not occur every time. It takes place maybe once in every 4 months, or once in every 6 months, or maybe once per year. That's when financing does occur. So in this case, you might decide to finance your clubs based on the last day that you did your allocation. Now in this case, you might decide, maybe if I fund today, I might decide to maybe fund again after 6 months or 7 months or maybe 8 months, or whichever duration I would like to fund my club. So you just have to know that it doesn't occur each and every time. Then you have to still consider the percentages that you are being told. That is, the annual parties allocation was the 30% of the total revenue. The savings were 20%. The school contribution was 70% of the annual parties allocation, or 70% of 30%. Then the ongoing activities, it was actually 50% of the total revenue that was actually earned. Yeah, so annual parties allocation was 30% of the total revenue, saving was 20%. Ongoing activities allocation was actually 50% of the total revenue. So if you can add those three, you will get 100%. So this typically means that, for instance, now consider this scenario. If the clubs last recorded a financing transaction maybe on the 1st of January, so you might decide the next time I'm funding, I must get the total amount that I have collected since that time, so that I use that as my total revenue. So for instance, if you went 10 activities from January up to now, and you collected 10,000 each in each and every activity, you will have 100,000, because it's 10,000 times 10. So that 100,000 is the one that I'm going to use as my total revenue based on the last date that I did another funding. So you still have to implement that, in that you don't look at the total revenue since you started the clubs. You have to look at the total revenue from that day that you did your allocations. I hope you can get the difference. So again, you still have to remember that total revenue is being got from the total amount that is obtained from the activities, and the total amount on registration. Again, you still, because we want to ensure we don't count funds 2 times by every time recording, since we started to find how much have we earned. That is again another tedious task. So you can simplify that by having recording a transaction date. So you can construct, or you can implement a feature such that on your next funding, you will check the last date that was funded, then go to the registration table, view all those members who registered after that date, then collect the total amount, and still consider areas for each and every club. So you just don't take every student, but take for a specific club. So if for instance there is a computer science club, maybe you last funded on January the 1st, so today is on 29th. So if you decide to fund again, you have to check for all those people who registered as a computer science club from 1st January up to now, because that will be the new fee that was earned. Then you go to the activities, also capture all the activities that the computer science club did from 1st January up to now, then take the sum of the total revenue that was corrected, that would be your, then add the two, the sum from the computer science membership joining and from their activities. So that is what will give you the total revenue. Then now you can distribute that total revenue with these fields here, the annual parties. You multiply 30% of the total revenue, that is adding all the members who registered in computer science from that date up to now, and plus the total amount that was earned in the activities from that date up to now. So that will be specified here in the data recorded, as we will be recording one transaction. We will be seeing what I'm saying. So that is basically how it goes. Then the savings will be 20% of the total revenue. Then school contribution is 70% of the annual parties collection allocation that is. So the school contributes 70% of the annual allocation, and the ongoing will be 50% of total revenue. Now with me here, I can decide to add some sample data. Let's say for my computer science club, it will now go and check for the last funding date. That was for this process is automatic, so you just have to select your club, then click on allocate funds. You can see the values are fluctuating, or they are changing. There are some with zero values or null, and you have to know that you cannot allocate null funds. So this one will raise an error that we do not have enough funds to allocate, because you can see nothing has been given, or the total revenue is nothing. Then for the CS or computer science club, as you can see, maybe from the last transaction date that I recorded here, we've earned a total of 100,500 shillings, maybe from registration and maybe the activities that they've registered. So if you can calculate that, you can get that 30,150 is 30% of these. Then 20,100 is 20% of these, and the 21,105 is 70% of these. Then 50,250 is 50% of these. You can calculate as well. Then you just provide your financing ID. Yeah, if I can view my financing report, you can see that I actually have already allocated my funds to the CS club. So also the art club again. So if I earned a total of 1,250 from that time up to now, so that will be the actual distribution of these funds. So you just have to maybe add more students and engage in more activities. Then you just have to select your club ID and allocate your funds. So that's how it basically does. And you can also view the financing history from here. Maybe the CS club, you can view the previous financing, how it was actually being carried out. So that's how it basically works. Then over here you can see some summary of the data. Maybe 50,000 was is currently for the ongoing. If you can view that, if you maybe add this, the two values 5125 plus 50, you're supposed to get these. Then for the annual activities, if you add 30,030, you should get this value. Then total revenue is 100,350. Again, if you add these two, you should get this. So that's how it typically means. So then here you can specify the date that you did some funding, maybe today. Then you can see my financing ID. And also if you want to just view for a specific club, you can just right click and use this filter option here. Maybe you can view a particular club that you would like to view. Now you can continue viewing as well. So here you can finance the same club again. Then we can save our data, and you can see that the funds were successfully allocated for that club. So if I can view my report again, you can see that the funding again was pretty much successful. So typically that's how it should work. So be sure not to maybe record one transaction multiple times, because it still says that we earned a total of 100,150, because the date still is the same. The range that we are checking is still the same, so there won't be that change. So we are assuming that you allocate only once, then maybe come back after a while, maybe 6 months, you find that the value is fluctuating, So that's how the financing of the clubs work. Then we can move on to tracking of membership. Now in this case, as you can see here, my form is very much simply designed. Here we have some report that's showing some data for memberships. So here you can specify the remember that we are being told to a system that should track members who enter or leave a club at the beginning of every year, academic year. So you can because an year isn't fixed, or we are not sure when the year started for the school. Maybe the academic year, which might start on January 10th, January 7th, January 14th. It might fluctuate. That is what I mean. And also the year that it ended. It might end in November, October, December. So we'll have to specify. Maybe saying ours started on 1st. Then maybe ended then in October 30th. So if I click on track, I can view, as you can see here. Let me put it on screen. As you can see, so here we have 2 reports. We have students who joined and exited. Then we have students who joined but are still there, and you can also see their dates are as well recorded. You can see your membership ID, your student ID, your club ID, your club name, your role, the date that you joined and the date that you left, and the total that amount that you had paid for that club. So it will be visible over here. So this one is continuous because of the other data. So again, you can still keep on viewing some other data here, like for instance the members who joined but didn't exit. Here they are, of the permanent members who their part is over there. So that's how tracking of members occurs. You can enter any date of choice that you would like to. It depends on the duration that you want to view those members that maybe entered or exited a club at a particular given moment or time. So that's how it basically works, like that. Then you have the second last part, that is the clearance of a student. Now maybe you might need to what we call shifting over clubs, or demoting, or removing permanently. So in this case, if you are told that every leader that maybe requires to shift from a certain club must do so with the club patron, or want to clear from a club must do so with the club patron. So for instance, if I can view my members, not here, but if I can view my members, but for me here I don't have a leader, but I can quickly add one. So I can just view the unregistered student. In this case, let's say VCR 007, can see he isn't registered, so I can appoint, or I can have a membership ID MB11. So can choose the student that is not registered. Let's say that one. You can register him in the science club. Let's say he's an executive and joined today. Save. So if I can want to clear that student, I can view the report over here. As you can see, here is his data. So he was added MB011 VC VSC 008, that is his student ID, and he is an executive. So if I would like to clear that student, I can just come and have his ID over here so that I first of all identify who that person is. I hope you can get that difference. So I can input my student ID so that we decide what we want to do, either demote, shift, or remove. So let me add my ID. So as you can see, here is the data that we added. He was in the science club, he was a membership ID is, and was an executive. So I can just click on the record to extract his membership ID. Once I extract my membership ID, I can choose my action, maybe demote, shift, or remove permanently. So if I would like to demote, I just click on check on the demote radio button. Then if I perform, you can see the member was demoted. So but if you'd like to shift the student to another club, just shift first of all, then I can still search for the same student. As you can see, he was given another membership ID. That is that's what happens. So I can choose the latest one, this one. So if we shift from the current club, so you can shift the person to drama club, maybe, and choose their new role as regular, and you can perform. You can see he has been assigned a new membership ID, and the student has been shifted successfully. So that's what basically happens with this part for handling users. So again, I can actually decide to extract the ID and then update as well. So the last thing are the reports. So we have the first report, that is a viewing of activities. So you can view it very much quickly. So this one will show all the activities that have taken place in the clubs. The club ID, you have the activity ID, the club ID, the name, the date, and the amount that was corrected. So it will show all the details as you have seen. You can switch between views. You can print it if you'd like to, and also view it in the report view if you'd like to. As you can see, you can also apply filters in this case. For instance, if you like to see the club ID, a specific one, you can apply text filters and say equals equal. For instance, let's say the mathematics one, I can copy the ID, then I can apply text filters, club ID equal to math, and you can see the records are sorted again according to the math. I can decide to apply another one or remove it. If I remove, they are displayed. Then we have the clubs report. This displays the report about clubs. I can switch the view again to report. Again, my data is displayed over here. The club ID, the club name, the fees, and the patron name, they are all displayed there as well. I can also view my finances summary. This will display a summary of all clubs revenues. For instance, total revenue for the computer science club, for instance, we have total revenue, annual parties, allocation, we have savings, we have school contribution, ongoing school activities, location. Then you have the membership report. I can quickly view to or switch to report view or the normal view. You can see the report over there. Then you have the patrons that will display a list of all patrons that are registered in the school. You can switch views to print view if you'd like to. Then you can see the patrons are displayed. We have the unregistered students. This displays a list of all students that are not registered. Then you have the clubs and school contribution. So this will display according to the club ID, the finances, and the summaries as well, the school contributions and everything. The club ID will be grouped as like we have seen here. Then you have the finances ID. Then you have the totals. Now these totals will display according, like this total, for instance, the total revenue, the savings, and school contribution. The same case applies over here with this record. The total again For all these finance IDs, I can see the total amount again corresponds effectively total revenue, savings, and school contribution, and those are the reports that will be displayed like that. So basically that was a system, how it looks like, how it functions. So I hope you enjoyed the video. You can still get by contacting us with the contact in the description. We hope you enjoyed. So that was all. This is a full system. So hope again you are able to learn a thing or two about how it works. So the full video now is out. There's a full project. So thank you.